Today, I have the opportunity to talk with Peter Shulz. Peter is a senior strategy manager at Swiss Re, one of the big reinsurance company in the world. The topic of today's conversation will focus on two main pillars when Swiss Re is performing really good. One is the venture client, meaning the way corporates do work with startup, mostly through collaboration and partnership, and the other one will be about the venture building activities. Again, as we see, we will moving from Horizon 1 initiative up to Horizon 2 and Horizon 3. But first of all, let me introduce you our guest. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Alberto. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And again, as mentioned, you are doing. You are driving the open innovation effort inside Swiss Re. First of all, maybe you just briefly introduce yourself, your role inside the organization.
Yeah, happy to. So my journey started 1.5, 2 years ago, almost now. Maybe some few words to my background, because I think that's important.
Yes, that is important.
I had a professional career at the primary insurer, did innovation there. I was directly reporting to the CEO. And it was in the first wave of the whole digitization happened. And we built portal solutions. We did a lot of marketing. Of course, we flew to the Silicon Valley. We were talking a lot of innovation, but to put it in a nutshell, nothing really meaningful happened. And that annoyed me a little bit. And out of that, I decided, okay, I will stop talking about innovation. Let's do something meaningful. I quit my well-paid job, moved out and started my own venture, which went reasonably well, quite okay. We were building up a platform, all was green. We entered the market. I had an investor, we had an ecosystem, and everything seemed to be fine till COVID came. And out of a sudden, the investor opted out, and the ecosystem we just built up collapsed little by little. So I decided to go back, stop it, take it as a big learning, and go back to the industry, take it as a big learning, and improve the way like startups and big corporates collaborate. Because you can imagine, as a small startup, it's out of a sudden a completely other role. You're really suffering from the barriers that are basically there between big corporates and startups. And that brought me to Swiss Re basically as part of the innovation department on a group level. We do digital strategy, and one of my first tasks was basically to deliver the new digital strategy, and we did that last year, and it's based on basically two pillars, and the one you mentioned is the capability underlying is venture client, and the other capability is venture building. The two pillars are it's enabling growth for Horizon 2, Horizon 3 topics, and for Horizon 1 it's drive efficiency out of digitization or innovation topics.
Let's focus first on Horizon 1 again. Horizon 1, I call it the so-called the low-hanging fruit, meaning, again, as always, there is a slight difference from saying and doing, again, because, again, there is a lot of things that are easy to be said but very difficult to be grasped, despite they are not that far. But I'm a strong believer, at least based on our professional experiences, that the venture client in 2022 is no longer a black box. I think is something where there are KPIs, processes, structures, best practice, and I believe that if you implement it properly, you get results. Can you help us understand how Swiss Re is approaching this specific tool? What have you been learning in the past few years? Where are you headed?
Okay, yeah, let me start with the journey. 1.5, 2 years ago, I came there, and one of my first questions was immediately, okay, tell me all the success stories you have with startups. Of course, we did some investments, but we weren't really able to partner with. And my deep understanding or belief is the best way to collaborate from a startup to corporate is not just investing and hoping that the technology will be integrated. It's basically partnering, which is AKA the venture client. So what did I do? I grabbed the mandate and established the venture client capability at Swiss Re from scratch. So of course we had some learning cycles, but all in all, being a group function, for me it was important to really serve as a service provider towards the business units and enable the collaboration between big corporates and startups. And you mentioned it, the venture client now in 2022 is a kind of a best practice already. We were able to leverage some of the learnings other companies did. I talked to a lot of other providers, to other best practice, other companies as well, and try to integrate all these learnings into our processes. And yeah, the way how we go with startups. And I guess maybe the magic ingredient is what was really a game changer is really focusing on problems. We're now trying to really identify problems first instead of just going out, okay, spotting some random startups who are doing something with AI and trying to push them in. We're really focusing on identifying problems or capability gaps or technology gaps that could potentially be solved by startup solutions. And then we reach out and scout globally for the best possible solution. And then it's about basically as simple as it sounds, just partnering, bringing those problem and solutions, startup and big corporate together.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of that I strongly believe as good practice. Number one, talking about Horizon One, investing is not needed. Actually, is an obstacle. I see many corporates that have CVC funds and they do invest in H1 solution, and I believe that this creates a complication for potential partnership rather than an acceleration, because again, you put on the table a lot of things that are not strictly required. I think investing is a good tool for targeting H2, H3 horizons, because that might be the tool for looking at the future from inside, from the cockpit, rather than from the bottom. But for H1 is something that's not, it's actually is more of a barrier than an opportunity. On the other hand, you mentioned to another point to start from the pains of the business units, because again, the business units have their own daily job that is delivering results. And currently, you don't have to try to give them a futuristic solution that they have to understand how to use them, but mostly you provide them with solution to feed them with solution. Then it might happen, then might be good for them to get exposed to what might be the future, but this should be, I would say, a different activity. It is not strictly related with venture client. Venture client is about to deliver results, and actually delivering results, you educate them to work with external providers. That for them is a sort of Copernican revolution. And after, when they start getting used to work with others, you can start exposing also to the future, and that then to increase the lateral view, the peripheral view, and start looking at proposing some potential new business model, business needs. If not, you're just feeding something that has not the appetite to.
No, exactly. So for us, it was super important to understand the distinction between investing in a startup or just partnering with a startup, which is basically two different disciplines. And like other companies out there, we mixed it up in the past, and that causes difficulties, and it makes the whole process slow and painful, because it's a different story just onboard a startup to collaborate with them or use their services or do due diligence in order to invest in them. It's a different team, it's different people, it's different questions. So that learning was super important for us to start with. And of course, if you want to do Horizon One innovation, it's not of relevant that you own a startup which is providing a NLP solution. You can just use it, because the NLP solution will be commoditized anyway by maybe big tech or other startups. So it's not an asset. It's just a commodity you should use. Totally agree.
And then again, looking for more mature starter, and then early stages, the other probably
Exactly.
not so well hidden secret. Again, it's
Yeah.
business users are not have not the time to wait for solution to come. They want to have
Yeah.
solution now, and you need to provide something that is deployment ready, particularly in industry like yours that is overly regulated, when the relationship with the customer is so relevant that cannot have
Yeah.
any flows. And again, you
Yeah.
need to have something that is deployment ready, and that is important.
Yeah.
Do we have a couple of example again again, obviously, we always say that open innovation is a journey. So you're improving lap after lap. You're getting faster. You're becoming more efficient. You learn from the mistakes. You get better in designing your trajectory. You become more efficient. But as far as I know, you already got some interesting results of collaboration. Maybe you can share a couple of them just to help us or our audience to understand what kind of company you're looking at and what kind of collaboration you guys are putting in place.
No, sure, happy to. So you mentioned we're not looking into early stage startups. We're really into looking fully capable solutions. So we are basically looking for the best startups. And in order to approach these startups, we need companies like yours in order to find them and to connect with them. So we do it in two dimensions. It's basically both in Horizon 1, and we do in the typical dimension. The one is efficiency gains out of new solutions. And the other thing is enhancing existing business models we have in place. And maybe the two examples I can share in the first dimension is we collaborating and partnering with a startup called Eigen Technologies, which is a leader in the area of NLP, AI, text recognition. And you can imagine the playing field for capturing data out of unstructured text is huge, and the efficiency potential is enormous. So we run it through the whole venture client journey. We identified Eigen's unique capability, validated it, did a POC, integrated them at a very reasonable price. Time to market for the POC was crazy fast, as the models were already in place. The accuracy was super surprising, and now as we speak, it's working and it's integrated and it's delivering on the business case we calculated. So that's one example for really efficiency gain by just partnering with the startups. And of course, you can try it by yourself in order to build up the model, get in the relevant people. But imagine a startup like Eigentech, which is super well funded and has a Series C, Series B, whatever round, with the funding of 20, 50 million maybe, just to solve this single project. How capable this solution will be compared to the solution you try to build up by yourself. So it would be even unfair to compare this with your internal capabilities. And the other dimension I mentioned is enhancing existing business models. And we did a lot of risk analysis, and we'll use satellite images, a drone. It's about capturing the risk of flooding, which is a super recent example when you look at the US. And we use a startup from India to capture it with drones. And you can imagine the customer experience is totally different. The time to capture is significantly faster than we did in the past. It's much more accurate, and we enhanced it to our existing business model we sell to our clients. So just bring in these two examples, I guess, both in Horizon 1, both with direct impact, both with positive business cases, a great example for success stories for the venture client capability we build up.
And then again, just to echoing a couple of words you just said, I think are super important. I think there is always the temptation of large entities to build things from scratch. Oh, I see the solution. Oh, we are the mighty big company. We can build it in house. Again, we got it. It's easy. We can do it.
Yeah.
And at the end, particularly talking about venture client, meaning something that you have an immediate needs and you have a need of something that's working properly, I think there is no room for internal building, because you don't have the time, and there is someone around that has been investing, as you mentioned, tens of billions in jurisdictions like that. It makes no sense to try to replicate internally for saving what? For saving a few pennies in terms of margins, and why you can have a solution that is ready to deploy, working perfectly, professionally in a few. Different is the case when you are looking at Horizon 2 and Horizon 3, because Horizon 2 and Horizon 3, you are building, you are shaping a future that you don't really know what you're doing. And sometimes that might open the door to some internal building when you have definitely a stronger opinion about how the future might shape. That doesn't mean that you're not good to outside, but you want to probably take some direction where you're a certain way you're helping to design from the beginning, or rather than jumping on board on something that's been designed for other purposes. And as it comes to what is today is called venture building activities. In the past, I believe that the corporate accelerators are considered the way to do that. I think the data from the market are suggesting that corporate accelerator model is not working again, because it's too difficult to try to bring on board something and then to help them to grow internally. I believe that the venture builder might be a good tool. It's still, jury is still out based on our observatory, because there are some interesting experimentation on this regard still to proven results. But I know that you guys are working on this topic. I'd like to hear why, how, when, and again your first initial insights about how it works.
Sure. The venture building for me is just out of common sense the perfect combination of the two worlds. So you combine the strengths of a big corporation. We have the risk knowledge, we have the big brand, we have customer access, we have money, we have a strong balance sheet. But in the past, we failed with disrupting ourselves, which is super difficult, because we're all incentivized in Horizon 1, as you just mentioned. We have a problem to solve in H1, and we basically do it, and we are good in doing that. But in order to really disrupt yourself and rethink your business and create new Horizon 2 future-proven, future-ready business models, it's nearly impossible to do it out of the big mothership. So what you do is you collaborate with external venture builder who is providing all the entrepreneurial spirit, the thinking, the methodologies, the tools, and also the people, in order to make big ideas or brilliant ideas happen. So we are trying to combine these two worlds in this very specific and unique setup, and we're working on big topics, using the entrepreneurial spirit, the execution speed of a venture builder. And it's important for us to, it's not just a venture builder who gives us advice like a consultancy, it's a venture builder who is fully invested in the idea. So we are co-investing in the idea. So Swiss Re is taking a share, and although the venture builder is chipping in the same amount of money in order to make it happen. So it's an alignment of interests, alignment on the topic, and we are both trying to make it happen and trying to incubate new companies in Horizon 2 and Horizon 1. Not 1, 3, of course. Sorry about that.
Yes. And what are, again, and just going beyond the P2P venture builder, again, if we need to broaden a bit the scope, again, if based on your experience now with 3 and also your prior experience, if you need to list the most are the barriers that inside the large corporation are to prevent the magic of open innovation to spark, what would you say?
Legacy, and I guess political. We're trying to protect things we already achieved, which means I have a team and a COE, and we have to solve problems. So it's pretty simple. It's open innovation. So in order to make it happen and fully leverage the power of open innovation, you have to be open for something new. And I guess these barriers, is the biggest hurdle to make it happen. What I have seen when it comes to startup, and also suffered it from it as I had my own startup, the people and big corporates, we are successful. Swiss Re is successful for 160 years, so we know our business better than everybody else. So, and then a startup comes in and tries to explain us how a certain piece of the value chain could be improved. And the immediate reaction, and I've seen that so often, you invite the startup comes in, pitches their solution, the corporate guys get entertained, and afterward they explain the startup how it works and why the solution couldn't work, and nothing happens. So it's that cultural barrier, I guess, is still there in certain companies, but you have to be open to make it happen, because I guess the innovation and the change in the future will not come from internal development teams or business teams. It will come from the outside world. So you have to be open in order to benefit from that.
Yeah, I always, again, across the board, across industries, across countries, most of the time I feel this this sense of superiority that established companies do have.
Yeah.
Their sense of the tradition. And by the way, I remember Pascal saying that nothing feels like success, right? And the more of you have been successful, the more you feel invulnerable, and the more you look at with a certain lack of attention what is happening outside, because you believe that what you have fed you up to today is about to feed you also for the next incoming years. And the longer has been the period where you've been successful, even stronger you feel. And actually, it's rather the opposite, that actually you're even more vulnerable because you have reduced your ability to learn from outside. Again, I believe that when you look at Jeff Bezos and when he's stressing the concept day one, day two, day one, day two, day one, day two, when we start to move into day two, we are gone, we're done, because again, the company is starting to die. I believe that is I believe that the vision that each of us should have working in established corporate. Established corporate have immense potential because they have marketing in their hands, but sometimes they are lacking the entrepreneurial spirit and the mission tool that might give them to continue the legacy rather than protecting it to continue.
Yeah, I guess, and venture building solves this kind of barrier or problem a little bit, because you just try to like a puzzle, put the one puzzle piece to the other, and suddenly it's a new picture, and you're combining the strengths of both sides. So if you do venture building in a portfolio approach, it's even risk mitigated. So you do it in a portfolio. You're not just putting 100 million in one. One exercise that might disrupt your whole business, and after 5 years you close it down, and it's 100 million sunk cost. With 100 million you can build up 100 new companies. So in a really risk mitigated, diversified approach, and the doing and the corporate world with the aligned interest is done by external or several external venture builders, and you just bring in the best your company provides. It's the risk knowledge where we are super strong in, our global footprint, our brand, super smart people, and this combination is really unique. And for me, that's the ultimate lever for future change.
And again, just pardon my pun, hearing about risk mitigation by an insurance company is something you should definitely pay attention about. Because again, this is something you should know.
You can imagine a company like Swiss Re, we are super risk aware, and you don't survive in this industry if you aren't able to manage risk accordingly. So we know what we're talking about, and I guess that's super important. And this combination is for me super unique. It's much better than building up a portfolio where you randomly buy your startup portfolio. You bring in the best of your assets in order to make it happen, and you accelerate the startups. And you help them grow, and you help them be successful. Though the failure rate of the startups you help to incubate will be significantly lower than a startup you randomly buy. Yeah. So I'm super convinced in that as well. So it's several levers where this combination benefits are super fruitful for both sides, and it makes totally sense for me.
What is the origination process? You select the potential new venture to be built. How does it come from?
Now at the moment it was let's call it opportunistic. So we were looking for potential projects which were out there, sometimes pre-validated, and talked with several venture builders, and we just closed one phase. It was around early detection of cognitive decline. You can imagine you earlier detect the cause of the disease has a certain amount of value from an insurance perspective. So in getting that insights with state-of-the-art technology, we use biomarkers like the way someone speaks or the typing behavior of an iPhone to capture that anomalies in order to create that trigger point. Is super beneficial. But it's just we just started the whole venture building journey. It was kind of a pilot which now was successfully, but for me it's crystal clear that's the ultimate lever to make it happen, and you have to emphasize this discipline much longer. And the ambition is to build up this portfolio, as I just mentioned, to have this de-risk approach and make it happen. Build your own startups that might disrupt your business you're running now. So that's basically my ambition. It's much better than just waiting and becoming the next Nokia.
Yes. Yeah. And just to end our conversation, if you have to provide a couple of suggestions, something that you have learned in the past few years to your colleagues, again, open innovation executives doing your same job in other companies, what have been your top 2 tips?
Yeah. One is be open. Be open. The innovation is not taking in-house. It's not taking place in-house. It's out there. Then be open to collaborate, open to integrate, and just give it a try. So it's failure culture, of course, is the big topic. And with all this innovation, sometimes circus topics really focus on impact. So really focus on, you want to create impactful innovation and not just innovation for the sake of innovation, which means you don't do a design thinking session just to have a design thinking session and stick some notes on the wall. It has to be a purpose, and there has to be a problem that you want to solve. So it's really focusing on the impact piece. Sometimes you learn along the journey how impactful the new idea might be, but impact in the back of your head, openness, and give it a try, failure culture. And then using best practices, of course. There are best practices around the whole innovation industry, also in the insurance or the banking world, has a certain lessons learned. I guess venture client is one state-of-the-art capability, venture building is another one. There are several others. Use it, leverage it. Don't make the mistakes everybody else did in the past.
No, exactly. That is one of the reasons why we're having this series of conversation with the people that are doing the job. Because again, I think there is a lot of cross learning that we can just share by talking with you guys. Because each of you has done this job as learner by doing, and then this kind of. There is a lot of commonalities, a lot of best practice to be potentially shared. And I totally agree with the focus on impact. I believe that the honeymoon period for open innovation is longly gone. Again, it was the golden age when you're just launching something with the innovation startup board included, and you were just an hero. Now I think reasonably also from the top management is definitely more knowledge and recognition that the open innovation is an important pillar. On the other hand, is also strong demand for results. And there are particularly areas like the venture client that you have to deliver results, because there are no excuses in not delivering results. So that is phenomenal learning. Thank you a lot, Peter, for sharing your insights. And then we'll catch up in the subsequent months to also to understand how you're progressing on the venture client side, and also the venture builder. This newborn initiative inside Swiss Re is evolving, and also what you're learning from the first venture and the next one that you're about to launch. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. No, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure, and happy to reconnect in the future.
Will do.
Bye-bye. Talk to you soon.